Hello and welcome to all our viewers in Nigeria and around the world to News Cycle on Global Television, coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Anthony Momodu. We would like to remind you that Global Television is on DSTV channel 365. As the nationwide protest against hunger enters day 3, Global Television has observed that the city center was relatively calm. Our correspondent Samuel Odi also witnessed heavy presence of security operatives around the National Stadium, as well as what seemed to be a joint task force of the Nigerian Army and other security agencies on patrol. Meanwhile, conveners of the protest in Abuja had demanded to use the Eagle Square for convergence, but they were denied access. A court later restricted them to Moshood Abiola National Stadium, Abuja, where the exercise held peacefully on the first 2 days of the exercise. However, the atmosphere was charged after police fired tear gas at protesters on the third day. Although the police had forcefully dispersed protesters across Nigeria's capital city on the first 2 days of the exercise, there was no use of force at the approved venue. But the formerly friendly officers became aggressive when protesters began regrouping on Saturday. Masked operatives of the Department of State Services had arrived at the stadium in 7 vehicles. The Nigerian Medical Association says its members will continue to provide services, especially medical emergency services, amid the ongoing nationwide hunger protest. The NMA president, Professor Bala Audu, gave the assurance in an interview with the News Agency of Nigeria in Lagos. Audu said that the association had directed its members across the country to promptly treat injured protesters that are brought to health facilities. There have been reports of injury, violence, looting, and curfew in some states as a result of the protest. The NMA president appealed to the protesters to dialogue with the government while urging the federal government and states to ensure that law and order were restored nationwide. President Bola Tinubu says his administration is undertaking bold economic policies to propel Nigeria's economy out of the downturn occasioned by multiple shocks in the global economy. He also called for global cooperation among African countries to tackle their shared economic challenges and take advantage of opportunities. The president spoke when he declared open the 2024 African Caucus meeting at the Transcorp Hotel, Abuja. Tinubu's remarks are coming on the back of protests against hardship that started on Thursday across the country. The main opposition People's Democratic Party (PDP) says President Bola Tinubu's silence in the face of what the party calls crippling nationwide and bad governance protest by Nigerians is sending a dangerous signal to Nigerians. National Publicity Secretary of the PDP demanded that the president immediately address Nigerians on urgent steps to reduce the price of petroleum products and stem the fall of the naira and ensure speedy provision of food, among other critical issues, so as to revamp the productive sector, stimulate employment, and restore stability in the polity. The leadership of the Pan-Niger Delta Forum, PANDEF, has commended the people of the Niger Delta, particularly the youth, for their peaceful conduct during the ongoing #EndBadGovernance protest. The group emphasized that the protesters have successfully made their voices heard. In a statement, National Publicity Secretary of the Forum, Dr. Ken Robinson, praised ethnic youth organizations and community-based groups, civil society groups, activists, and ex-agitators and the youth for maintaining peace in the region amidst the nationwide protests. Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa has appealed to Nigerians to be civil and peaceful while exercising their rights. He also warned those who may want to hide under the guise of protest to perpetrate violence to rescind their decisions. The defense chief gave the warning and appeal while briefing newsmen on the ongoing nationwide protest against hunger and bad governance at the defense headquarters in Abuja. Kikelomo Okere has more.
The Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa noted that the security operative, especially the police, are very professional in handling the protest, calling on Nigerians to show understanding with the federal government.
We want to appeal to Nigerians to understand that the federal government is doing the best it can for the country. The federal government, the present regime is just there for less than 1 year, and it is not possible for them to have solved every financial, economic, security situation within 1 year.
The Chief of Defense Staff further stated that the military will not fold its hands and watch the country drift into anarchy, pointing out that the military is watching and will step in if the situation gets out of Nigerians.
Just to give an update as to the situation that's ongoing, we're all aware of what happened yesterday. The government have actually shown its own commitment by upholding its promise to allow people to associate freely without any rancor. But I'm sure everyone is disappointed with the outcome.
He added that the government is doing its best to address the economic situation in the country, urging the citizens to hold the local and state government more accountable. Kikelomo Okere, Global Television News.
And returning to a previous story, that as the nationwide protest against hunger enters day 3, Global Television has observed that the city center was relatively calm. Our correspondent Samuel Odi also witnessed heavy presence of security operatives around the National Stadium, as well as what seemed to be a joint task force of the Nigerian Army and other security agencies on patrol.
Today is the day 3 of the nationwide hunger protest that kick-started on the 1st of August. And here in the central area, you could see that the town, the city center, is relatively very quiet. And we went around the city centers. We went through the National Stadium, where has been designated for the protesters to emerge and protest and cry out to the government of what their challenges are. But we went there and we saw a bit of peace and quiet around those areas, but we also witnessed the heavy presence of security operatives around the city center, and as well as what seemed to be a joint task force between the Nigerian Army and police and immigration. And that's of the report, Samuel Odi reporting for Global Television News.
The Ariwa Concerned Citizens Forum has backed the Chief of Defense Staff General Christopher Musa's call for a media blackout on the ongoing nationwide protest. The forum expressed their support in a statement signed by its national coordinator, Dr. Victor Bobai, and Assistant Secretary Moses Eneche, and Director of Media and Publicity, Malam Ibrahim Kolo. The CDS had previously asked both international and local media to stop covering the 10-day nationwide protest, which began on Thursday. Musa, who made the call during a press conference in Abuja, argued that many of the protesters were attention seekers who wanted moments in the media. Sokoto State Police Commissioner Ali Kagama has confirmed the arrest of over 81 people during first day of nationwide hunger protesters. The command's spokesman, ASP Ahmad Rufai, who disclosed this in a press statement which was made available to newsmen, assures adequate security and urges the good people of the Caliphate to avoid any form of criminality before and during the protest. The statement added that the residents have right to protest, but frowned at destruction of public infrastructures, as many violent protesters will be arrested for destruction of public property and will be caused to face the full wrath of the law. Rufai said in the quest to maintain law and order within the state and to avoid further breaking of shops and looting of warehouses, among other nefarious activities, the joint patrol was able to make the arrest. Minister of Steel Development Shuaibu Audu has appealed to Nigerians to suspend the nationwide protest against hunger and poverty. Shuaibu made the call in a statement issued by his special assistant on media, Lizzie Okoji, in Abuja, urging Nigerians to embrace dialogue in addressing all their concerns regarding the difficulties being faced in the country. Operatives of the Kano State Police Command has initiated a house-to-house search to recover items stolen during the protest in Kano. The protest, initially peaceful, was hijacked by suspected hoodlums who embarked on a looting spree. The looters raided stores, houses, and government establishments, including the yet-to-be inaugurated office of the Nigerian Communications Commission, taking away furniture, electronic items, and more. They also vandalized streetlights and other public decorations. The Federal Capital Territory FCT Police Command has called on medical personnel to report anyone with gunshot wounds to the police. The command said it engaged some hoodlums in a fierce gun duel, with many of them escaping with gunshot injuries, adding that the hoodlums had taken advantage of the hunger protest to embark on massive extortion and assault on innocent citizens along the Lugbe end of the FCT. The Civil Society Legislative Advocacy Center, also called CISLAC, has called on for the protection of protesters amid growing concerns that the demonstration have been hijacked by criminal elements and political actors with nefarious intentions. Executive Director of the Center, Awal Rafsanjani, condemned the hijack of the peaceful protest in some places. While calling for the protection of protesters, he, however, urged them not to destroy properties and public infrastructure. Kebbi State Governor Dr. Nasir Idris has appealed to the organizers of the ongoing and bad governance protest in the state to suspend their activities. The governor made the plea while addressing the people of the state on the current state of the nation shortly after an emergency State Security Council meeting. Sharon Ajay has details.
According to Governor Idris, available intelligence suggests that some unpatriotic elements plan to import mercenaries from outside the state to cause chaos in Kebbi State.
The government of Kebbi State is doing everything possible to address the challenges faced by its people. So therefore, we want to plead with the organizers of this protest to see reason. You only know the beginning of the protest. You will not know how it will end.
The protest has been relatively peaceful in Kebbi State, with only minor incidents of violence reported in some local government area. The governor's appeal aims to prevent potential escalation. As of the time of filing this report, no protest has been recorded in Kebbi State, with people going about their normal businesses. Sharon Ajay reporting for Global TV News.
Nigerian Labour Congress NLC says alleged penchant for wealth by state governors was responsible for their unreadiness to pay the new national minimum wage. This is just as the NLC said the state governors have no excuse not to pay their 70,000 minimum wage. According to the NLC, if the governors can pay themselves the same amount of salaries, it is a must for every one of them to pay the new wage. Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka has disabused the minds of the public regarding the misconceptions about the pirate confraternity, saying that the registered association is not a bloodthirsty secret cult, but an association founded to push for justice and advance the betterment of the country. The world-renowned scholar disclosed this at the 26th annual Wole Soyinka lecture organized by the National Association of Sea Dogs, otherwise known as Pirate Confraternity, to mark the 90th birthday of Soyinka, who, alongside 6 other undergraduates of the University of Ibadan, founded the group in 1952. Benue State Governor Hyacinth Alia has approved the removal of the chairman of the State Independent Electoral Commission, Dr. John Chem. The State House of the Assembly had recommended the removal of the commissioner's chairman. Members accused him of poor judgment, according to the statement issued by his Chief Press Secretary, Kula Teso, and made available to journalists in Makurdi. The governor had accepted the resolution. You're watching News Cycle coming to you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. We're on DSTV channel 365 and Star Times channel 276. Kindly follow us on all social media platforms using Global TV NG and all the handles now showing on your screen. When News Cycle returns, Nigeria's exchange rate depreciates by 6.43% in July, despite CBN's forex exchange sales. We will bring you these and other stories right after this break. To stay with us. Come back from the break. This is a Global Television bringing you live broadcast of News Cycle. Thank you for staying with us. Nigeria's exchange rate closed July 2024 at 1,608 naira 73 kobo to a dollar, marking a 6.43% depreciation on the official market for the month. According to the data from FMDQ, the naira performed at a 4-month low in July, fluctuating between a low of 1,500 naira 32 kobo and a high of 1,621 naira 12 kobo, bridging the 1,600 naira ceiling. The depreciation occurred despite the efforts of the Central Bank of Nigeria to save the official market from illiquidity through the dollar sales. In business, the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority has clarified that it has neither suspended nor halted Arik Air flight operations. The airline's flights continue as scheduled, and its ability to operate its remaining fleet remains unaffected. This clarification was provided in a statement signed by the authority's Director of Public Affairs and Consumer Protection, Michael Achimugu, in Abuja. Achimugu stated that the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority is duty-bound to comply with the court order attaching Arik Air's aircraft following the determination of its case at the Supreme Court, ensuring compliance with the regulatory and safety standards. Central bank governors in Africa have expressed their concern over the rising cost of borrowing by African nations, stressing that the efficient development of the continent cannot be achieved at the current rate. The governors advocating a drastic cut in the cost of borrowing said this position will be submitted at the forthcoming International Monetary Fund's and World Bank's annual meetings, while canvassing for the adoption of a common position by the African continent. On the foreign scene, Republican presidential candidate in the United States November elections, Donald Trump, says he has agreed to debate with Democratic opponent Vice President Kamala Harris on Fox News on September 4th. It was not immediately clear if Harris had agreed to the debate. Trump's post came hours after the vice president secured the Democratic Party's nomination as standard bearer in the November presidential election. Venezuelan authorities ratified Nicolas Maduro's election victory as the growing number of nations recognize his opposition rival as the true winner. Gripped by anxiety after Sunday's disputed presidential vote, the oil-rich nation braced for fresh protests as both Maduro and the opposition called for their supporters to demonstrate this weekend. Venezuela's election authority, meanwhile, ratified Maduro's win with 52% of the votes and said González Urrutia had garnered 43% ballots. Russia and Ukraine repelled drone attacks overnight, their respective armed forces says. Over 2 years after Moscow launched its offensive on Ukraine, Kiev has stepped up strikes on Russian territory this year, targeting energy sites that it says fuel Russia's assault on Ukraine, as well as towns and villages just across the border. The Russian Defense Ministry said it destroyed at least 76 drones launched by Kiev, including 36 over the border region of Rostov and 17 in the Oryol region. And sliding into the world of sport, a former Super Eagles player, Victor Ikpeba, has asked stakeholders to inject more grassroots football competition initiatives into the round leather game to produce more talent for the country. He stated this in Akure, Ondo State capital, at a press conference heralding the finals of the annual Akongun football competition scheduled to be held in Oka Akoko, headquarters of the Akoko Southwest local government area of the state. The former African Footballer of the Year said the development of the game should not be left to the government alone. Nigeria's two representatives in the men's 100 meters event at the ongoing Olympics in Paris, Kanyisola Ajayi and Favour Ashe, have booked their spots in the semi-finals. While Ajayi won his heat, Ashe qualified as one of the fastest fourth-place finishers. Ajayi outranked defending Olympic champion Lamont Marcel Jacobs, clocking 10.02 seconds, while the Italian finished 10.05 seconds. In Heat 5, Ghana's Abdul Rashid Saminu finished third in 10.06 seconds. Olympic fans at Stade de France are overjoyed with the opening morning of the athletics, which saw flamboyant American sprinter Sha'Carri Richardson ease through her 100 meters heat. The reigning world champion, aiming to regain the 100 meters title for the U.S. for the first time since Gail Devers won in 1996, clocked 10.94 seconds. That's it on News Cycle, and it came to you live from Nigeria's capital, Abuja. We're on DSTV channel 365 and StarTimes channel 276. Kindly follow us across all social media platforms using at Global TV NG and other handles now showing on your screen. I am Anthony Momodu. Thank you for watching.